Again. Okay, big shot. Swimming through the riptides from the cliff, but I got love on the twip side. Moves of the day, no rules, just play. Go against me and you'll be losing the day. Moves on the bean, all I do is fillet. Beast need a feast, about to go and got a steak. Lyrics on homie, might go and cop a case. Going with no trace, go get the caution tape. I got sauce in my veins, no flaws in my game. Deep sea thoughts get lost in my brain. I done broke up out the cage. Yeah, I'm the lion untamed. I am the answer. I am the mancer. Not for the banter. I am like Sanders. Deanna Berry. You do not scare me.
I am the answer. I am the mancer. Not for the banter. I am like Sanders. Hey, Deanna Berry. You do not scare me.
They never knew I had it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Visionary Rhetoric. I want to jump right into our topic, and that is DEI. Some of you probably shook, like, whoo, when I said it. You know, some of you are probably angry when you heard me say it, right? And you want to know what I'm going to say about it. You're hoping that I'm on the right side, literally speaking and figuratively speaking, of this topic. And you're hoping that I don't probably speak about this in a way that will make you, or at least cause you to think. Maybe not change your mind, but at least cause you to think. But that's what I'm here for. And I see a lot happening with DEI. I work in higher ed, so it's a big thing. It's definitely a buzzword. I don't know if it's a commitment by all, but some of the spaces that I've been in, you know, you hear the word DEI. You hear the good words that come along with it. You know, we want to be inclusive, and that's the third part of the whole equation. We want to be equitable, right? But to get into the diversity part, we got to look at diversity from a much broader spectrum than just race and gender, right? We get that. We go back and forth about race, we go back and forth about gender, but there's other things. There's ethnicity, which breaks down and really gives a detailed look at maybe why you are the race that you are. You have disabilities, whether they be physical or mental. And then you have sexual orientation, which is another hot topic, but disabilities tends to get left out a lot. A lot of people don't think about disabilities being of diverse nature, right? That people who have disabilities are another diverse portion of our population. And they are, right? And they bring a perspective. They've had to deal with certain things. I know for me, the way I was raised and going to the school I went to a school in media. And again, I'm looking forward to the episode where I get to sit down with a good friend of mine and we get to talk about that experience. But then just life in general, we both are adults, right? That'd probably be a little bit of the episode, but we'll go into a lot more than just that. And this person that I'm talking about is very interesting. I told y'all that in the first episode. It is still in the works. Very busy person. And we got to coordinate and get things together and figure out if she's going to come here in my home studio or if I got to go to her. She has a lot of things at her home that she could show in that episode that we could get, footage of in that episode. And I would love to be able to maximize that. So just trying to figure out all that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. We forget about, the disabilities aspect of that diversity and how people who have disabilities in different ways experience the world in such a way that we could never imagine. And so it's important that we include them into the conversation. It's important that we value them as a part of our society and don't look at them as, I know there was this joke, and I forget who said it, but, the thought that you have when the bus has to stop and somebody who's in a wheelchair has to get on, and the process that it takes. And, especially I think this person was in New York and it's like, this is going to take like 20 minutes, and it's like this idea that they're inconvenienced, right? And we need to move from that, right? So the diversity of looking at people who have different capabilities or abilities. And so you have race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religion. There's so many things that I think we miss when we don't look to value and cherish the diversity around us. Then we move into equity, right? So when we get into equity, one of the things that we talk about is the fact that, there are people who started on third base. There are people who started at home. There are people who started on home base but completed, right? So they're coming from families that, provide them with, resources and opportunities that most other people don't have access to. And nobody bats an eye at that, because we automatically, when we think about wealth and we think about legacy, those who are wealthy and have a lot of resources to leave to their next generation and next generation, we champion them, right? We champion them tremendously. We put them on such a pedestal and we say, yeah, they did it well, and I'm trying to be like that, not realizing that after you get about 2 generations away from the people who built the wealth, everybody else is pretty much living on easy street. Yes, they can say they work hard and they're maintaining the business, but by the time you get 2 generations away, like we look at the Jones family, Jerry Jones, and I'm not really happy with Jerry Jones as a Cowboys fan, and some of you all are not going to like that. You're going to give me a hard time, but I'm used to it because I'm from Philly and I'm a Cowboys fan. I was raised that way. Shout out to my pop, rest in peace. But anyway, look at Jerry Jones and his family. Jerry could care less about Super Bowls. And yes, I said it. Jerry could care less. Yes, I'm sure he would be glad to win another Super Bowl. I'm sure he would. But it's not just glad at winning, right? To me, Jerry's not a gladiator when it comes to like sports and stuff like that. It's not that. The reason why Jerry does the things that he does is because he gets so much money just from corporate interest that he's not losing. Even if he doesn't win another Super Bowl, right? He dies and never wins another Super Bowl, never sees one, right? He's not losing. Want to know why he's not losing? Because guess what? It would take a catastrophic event for his family to ever go broke. And that is the whole reason why he's doing what he's doing, right? You find out he has his hands in the different new stadiums that have been built all over the country in different cities for different teams. His hands are in there. He's invested in those projects. He's making money hand over fist. I think he's top 3 franchises, the Cowboys, top 3 when it comes to profitability and what they make and earn and what they gain. There's nothing we can do. I remember a few years ago I said maybe as the fans we need to fall back. But the problem is, one, Dallas fans are like true and through, right? Whether you're somebody who's from there or if you're somebody who is not from there, but you came from an era where like the Cowboys, the Lakers, and the Yankees ran it, right? Most people who are not from Dallas, if they're a Cowboys fan, they're a Yankees fan and a Lakers fan. I'm not either one of those fans. I'm Phillies and I am a Sixers fan. That's me. I'm a Flyers fan. I'm Philly everything but football. It mostly has to do with the way, my pop raised me in the fandom. And now that my pop has passed, I just can't see myself leaving the team, even though I really do not want to be a fan of this organization because I feel like they don't prioritize us as fans. What do we have if we're spending all of our money on merch? We're spending all our money to get to the games. What do we have other than winning a Super Bowl to be proud of, right? You're making us look silly, Jerry. I just want to say that really quick. You're making us look silly. And so I haven't really been super interested in everything because I feel like they just been doing a poor job on the football side of things. We get teams that look good and they just can't produce for some reason. And Jerry then, blows it up a little bit. We got rid of Zeke. That kind of blew up that era. And then they bring Zeke back, and he's, a shell of who he used to be. Whatever it happens, running backs have a short shelf life, and he was definitely ran into the ground from Ohio State and came in, and he had a really great few years and was dominant, but it wasn't sustainable because he had already had so many miles on him. So that's the life of a running back, right? If you are, especially like Zeke, he had power and speed. Your shelf life is probably 4 or 5 years, maybe. If on a upside, right? 3 years is probably where you will dominate, right? But anyway, I don't even stick to that topic. What I want to get to is when we look at a family like the Jones family, right? The kids that are coming as a result of Jerry, so his children, their children, and then their children's children, they will not have the same situation that Jerry had. they would not have the same situation that their parents had, right? By the time you get to like Stephen Jones, I believe, you get to his grandkids, they ain't gonna never be broke. They're just gonna be passing the money down, passing the organization down. Never are going to be broke. So if something happens to them, and let's say out of $5 billion, they lose $500 million. Now to them, it might be a crisis. But I would say somebody that only makes and only has, let's say, $100,000 in the bank and, or investment profile, and then makes like $100,000 a year, or let's say 200 combined for two people in a home, right? If we lose 10 grand, that's far greater to us than them losing 500 million. Now they're going to treat it like it's the end of the world, because that's what American business is about. It's about treating every loss like it's the most important thing. Same thing in higher ed. When enrollment plateaus, you got universities who act like they're losing enrollment, when in reality there are universities around them that are definitely losing enrollment. Like, you're talking operating on 1/3 or 1/4 of the amount of students that they're used to having, right? So there's this idea of equity, right? The equity is about considering what has taken place so far and what may have set somebody back, and providing resources, opportunity, and support that is relevant to the story, that is relevant to the experience of that person, those people. So, for instance, there's this idea of different people, height-wise, needing different things when they want to see over a fence. So, me, I'm tall. If the fence is only, let's say, 5 feet, I can stand to look over the fence. You can see. And this is all deriving from a picture. I may put it up next to me. From a picture where there are 3 people, and they give a few different scenarios. They say, all right, here's a fence. It's at this height. We give all the people the same one box. And there's 3 boxes, but we give them all one box. Or there's 4. Let's say there's 4 boxes, and we give them all one box, and there's one left over. So the tall person, I could just see better, right? Then the average height person, they can see over the fence now because they have a box. And the short person, they still can't see over the fence, right? So we say, man, that's not working out for the short person. Like, the tall person and the average height person, they're fine. But that short person still can't see the game, right? These are people who are looking, and again, I'm going to put this up over here. These are people who are looking at a baseball game, I believe. I'm going to try to find the image and put it up right next to me. But we go back to the drawing board. Okay, let's take the box away from the tall person. Okay, they can still see. Let's give the average height person another box. Okay, he could see even better. He was already good with one box, but he can see even better. Now let's give the short person 2 boxes. Okay, they're getting there. They're not quite over the fence. They got to get on their tippy toes, right? So we realize, going back to it, we're like, wait a minute. Now the average height person is like, the fence comes up halfway to his chest when he's on 2 boxes, but he'd be like right here. He'd still be able to see, still be able to put his hands up and rest and whatever, if he only had 1 box. So let's take one away from him, give the short person a 3rd box. So you got the tall person standing there fine, like they were. They can see right over, because I'm 6'4", so a 5-foot fence, I could just stand there. Or let's just say a fence that's about 5 feet 10 inches. I could stand there and look over top, right? If you 5 feet 10, I could just look right over top of you, right? So it's cool for me. I'm good. The average height person, that's about 5'10". You know what I mean? Like 5'10", 5'11", I think average height for men. They need 1 box to get over, because they're about the same height as the fence. So they need the 1 box to be where I'm at. Now this other person is going to need 3 boxes so that they can see over, right? That's equitable. Now, equality says everybody get a box, and that's it. There is no, considering that everybody has a different situation, a vantage point, or whatever. That's equality. And that's what a lot of conservative, and I'm going to just be quite frankly with it, white people think is the only way we should be in America. That's nice if we didn't have slavery. That's nice if we didn't have Jim Crow era. That's nice if we didn't have mass incarceration. That is nice and cool and everything. If everything started off equal, like every individual that came into this nation was treated as a human and given the same exact opportunities from point A, the start, till now, the present, right? If it was all like that, cool, we could be equal because everybody started off equal. We all started off on equal foot, and we can stay there. That's why, again, when we talk about reparations, that's called equity. Because, and I didn't even mention redlining. See, these are things that your favorite conservatives, especially the black conservatives, they don't talk about none of those things, right? They do this thing and they convince y'all that we can be tired of talking about those things, right? This is the reason why, yes, I'm one of those people that do say, like, I don't really need another slave movie, right? But at the same time, they're already trying to make us forget. And the thing is, I would be okay with forgetting it, right? I wouldn't say forgetting it. I would say I'd be okay with putting it to the side and looking at it as, okay, this is a part of our story. If we were rectified, if we got retribution, which would be reparations, give us our 40 acres and a mule and stop acting like, whoa, how are we going to figure out who's going to get what? We know people who immigrated here by choice from Africa, no, they don't get reparations. That was a choice, immigration. I'm sorry, y'all are our brothers and sisters, but there's a unique experience. Y'all get treated a little differently. Now, socially, I'm not saying y'all get treated great, but y'all get treated more like the immigration or the immigrated folk that come here. So the folk that choose to come here from Asian countries, the folk that choose to come here even from Europe, y'all get treated a little differently. A lot of times y'all come in, y'all are able to start businesses, y'all are able to do these things and get fair rates and all that kind of stuff. And they kind of look at y'all as the model because maybe the behavior is a lot different because you don't have the history of trauma and oppression that came from being, forcefully immigrated to this nation. We are descendants. I know for a fact on one of my sides that we are descendants of slaves and that we are the result of the slave master essaying a slave woman, right? We are the result of that in reality. Like, that may not be how my family talks about it, and I'm sorry if y'all hear this and y'all are offended by that, but that's just the case. You can't have a situation, I don't care what's it, Sally Hemings and all that stuff. I don't care about y'all trying to make that romantic. There was nothing romantic about it. Yes, she had a little more freedom. I watched documentaries. I read up on it. Yeah, the idea is that, especially when they went to France, that she had more freedoms and all that. No, there is no way that you can own somebody, that you can demand that they play a certain role, right? And they have the autonomy to choose to be in a romantic relationship with the person who owned them in their family at one point. There's just no way. So, past that. So, equity, describe that. Inclusion is really key because I think this is where most organizations fail. They're cool with the whole idea of making the workplace more diverse. That's just getting more black and brown, Asian faces, Latino faces into the workplace so that we can have pictures that show people who may want to work here, because even there are some white folks that really believe in diversity, that people that want to work here and that we want to attract to work here. It's a way of showing them that we have black and brown, Asian folk here. We have people who have come from different walks of life. It's not all just wealthy people. It's not all just people who are coming from low income situations. It's not all just middle class. Like, it's a good mix, right? And even if people want to go the extra mile, we do have people who have different levels of ability here, whether it be mentally or even physically, right? They're good with that. They're good with inviting people into a space. But the problem is this, and I talked about this before, I said this in another episode, that as black people, I'm speaking from my experience, if you are a part of any other group of people, right? Those coming from the Caribbean who feel like they have their completely own identity and don't necessarily attach it to us. Those coming from South America, same situation. Those coming from Africa. If you got a different, put it in the comments, right? Comment. These will be clipped out too. Also put them in the comments on Instagram and all that good stuff, right? I'm cool with all that because I like to have dialogue and hear different perspectives. But from being a black man, the thing that I say is that as black people, we've been asked to give up the most of our culture. We don't own the lion's share of hip hop as far as we produce it, but we don't own the product. That's the problem. And so guys like LaRussell making that move to own the product from the rip, my man got over 30 albums in like 3 or 4 years. I super admire him, right? Dude is doing his thing, and I really love the fact that he is inviting others to be a part of his journey, right? He wants us like to have stakeholder mindset when it comes to what he's offering us, and not just to sit there and be like a consumer, but to actually be like, yo, you're investing in this. Yo, you got a piece of this. Yo, he does offer based, and so what happens is basically for a show when it's available, and for merch and stuff like that, you put in what you feel like you can pay, right? And so maybe this time you offer, let's say $20 for a hoodie. They accept it, right? You're like, yo, I was really in a bad place, but I want to support good company, all that kind of good stuff, right? Shout out to good company. I see y'all doing y'all thing. LaRussell, I got to get out to the I got to get out to the residency. I know that might mean a chokehold. I got to get out to the residency, I got to get out there. That energy is crazy. My favorite song from him, because it just gives me chills and makes me emotional every time I hear his GT Coupe, because that's where I am right now, right? I feel like I'm in that space of like where you vacillate between like self-doubt and self-confidence, right? There's this like, yo, I'm doing my thing. I got this set up. I'm doing this by myself right now. Wayne will probably join me at some point. Like I said before, he helps me out. He does a lot of consultation for a lot of different people when it comes to creativity. Shout out to the County John. Shout out to the Inglorious. Wayne's hand is in all of that. Shout out to Carey Community Church. Wayne's hand is in all those spaces, right? And all the people who have to do with those spaces will tell you that a lot of what they got going on would not be the case if it were not for Wayne Austin. That dude is a bad dude. Call that man we used to call him One Glove, right? All jokes aside, though, I'm gonna talk to you, bro, about that. I had a joke in my head, but I'm not gonna say it right here. But anyway, Wayne will join me at some point. But I'm doing all this on my own, right? I'm getting all this up and going, and so shout out to LaRussell, building from the ground, encouragement. Shout out to Deontay Kyle, Grits and Egg Podcast, huge inspiration. That's a good brother over there. He speaks his mind. He's educated. He is a true intellect. True intellects don't believe they know everything and therefore can't learn anything. True intellects know they don't know everything and want to seek to understand and learn many things about many people, about many situations, and they have a good heart and a vision for this world. And that's Deontay Kyle, man. I'm going to be real with you. That's Big Cat. Look who's behind the camera, Big Cat. I see you over there, man. Y'all doing y'all thing, and I just got to give flowers, right? I'm starting out, right? This is the beginning for me. This episode 13. And those guys over there, they keep me wanting to build. Josh Smith with the County John. Like I said, I shouted that out a few seconds ago. They keep me wanting to build, right? But anyway, my whole point to that was these are guys that are doing this, right? No major corporations, no selling out, right? And LaRussell said it, like, it's not that I won't take a deal, but the deal got to match with the energy that I've been bringing. It can't change everything. The problem is when you get invited into spaces that are trying to meet a diversity quota, is that they really don't want to include you. They just want you to be present so that they can basically say, hey, look, I'm giving opportunity to the marginalized. And it's really something that makes them look good. If you go to any of the universities' websites, especially state universities or big universities, that are looking to make a lot of money through enrollment and things like that. If you go on there, you'll see a bunch of students that look like me, that look like my wife, Latino or Latina, that look like anybody you know that might be Asian, that look like someone that's from, South America, any of those nations, that may even look like they're indigenous to the Americas, which would include South America and Mexico and all that, right? You look at that and you realize when you get there, one, if you go look, or if you dig into the website, this is where you'll see if they're really about DEI for real, that they have leadership that is black and brown who have true authority, not just like, again, a figurehead that they put into a place to say, hey, look, we have a VP or an AVP who's black or brown or Asian, whatever. We have somebody in this space. No, somebody who can cause change. Someone who has the ear of everyone who they're around just as much as someone else from the dominant culture might have it. That's what you go look at. What are some of the things that they're leading? What are some of the things that people look to them about? That's what you go see if they're really about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because they can really trick you, because they can just bring waves of students in, right? Schools that are near Philadelphia. Philadelphia has a large black community. All they got to do is find the students that can cut it enough that they can come in and bring them in. And each year, when they do their stats, they're not really looking at necessarily will a student graduate. They're looking at, hey, we got this many black students here. We're doing a good job, right? And that's the other thing. Are they supporting the students where they are? So a lot of these universities, and I know from firsthand experience, a lot of these universities have honestly decided to take down a lot of their, original criteria to get in. So there was a point where there were many universities in the area that I live in. So I'm saying like a 10 to 15 mile radius max, maybe up to 20 miles. And the 4-year universities, you couldn't get into there with lower than a 3.0. You could possibly get in with between a 2.5 and a 3.0, but you would have had to either know somebody or just the luck of the draw of like, hey, they'll set me in and under certain criteria. Like I know some of the 4-year schools that I got accepted to and recruited to, I would have had to start my academic journey in higher ed on academic probation because my GPA, and I'm going to be sitting here and be real with you, my GPA, like graduating high school, was below a 2.0. It was at like a 1.97 or something like that. First of all, I don't know how my high school let me do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how they let me do that. I'm going to be real with you. I got a master's degree now. I honestly don't know. And because of that, like I didn't really understand it. Like colleges are saying, I never shared this too. This is the first time I'm sharing this. But I talked about authenticity recently, so I got to be authentic. So I had like a 1.97 coming out of high school. I was a hooper. Right? I played ball, and that's really what I fixated on. I didn't have a 1.97 because I wasn't able to do the work. You know what I mean? Like I was on a college level reading comprehension coming out of middle school. So it wasn't that. It was because I was like, well, this is what is going to get me the status is playing sports. So I'm going to put all my energy into this. And I'm just going to do the bare minimum. Not realizing when you play the bare minimum game, any big incident that you have where you maybe, fail a class that you didn't expect to fail or get a low grade, like it could be a D or a C minus, and you're playing on the line like that, you can go from a 2.1 or 2 easy below a 2.0. Anyway, they shouldn't have graduated me. They shouldn't have. I don't know if they changed the rules. I know there was like these like eligibility rules with grades, and I was always just on the cusp. Like I was like, as long as I don't fail, I'm always on the cusp, and I'm just not. The thing is, who would have known what I could have did in high school grade wise if I would have had the same mindset? But again, hindsight is 20/20, so you can't say that. But what I'm trying to say is, you couldn't get into a college below 2.5. not a 4-year school. If you had a below a 2.5, you had to go to unless you were an athlete. Like I said, I got offers, and all my offers said that I would have had to start on academic probation for the first semester, and then from there they would have seen how I did. If I did well, good, keep it moving. If I didn't do well, we might have to send you to community college. But I ended up going to community college first anyway. And it was probably better for me, especially because I just didn't have good study habits. Because I was just like, all I got to do is the bare minimum and get it done. And then at a certain point, like I'm playing varsity. By junior year, I'm playing varsity. I'm going to be real with you. Like, I had people doing my work. Like, like at that point, like it was just like, or it was like, let me just see that. All right, cool, whatever. And the thing is, like, I knew the stuff. I could have the conversations. I was good at doing all that kind of stuff in class. But because I had so committed to this persona of one, like I said last episode, being a player, thinking I'm, just a player and I got all the ladies, and then two, being a hooper, right? So I say all that to say you couldn't get in there below 2.5. You would have had to go to community college and then go, especially if you didn't play sports. If you play sports, they would do little workout stuff like that where you got to start on probation, and then we'll see how you do as you travel. We'll see how you do. So I say that to say the diversity part is easy. It's just getting enough people who look different in, right? Making your school not look. If you go to Westchester University, it is still a PWI in the truest form. But if you go look at the website, you might not see that reflected, right? It may look like there's way more people of color that go there than there really is. And my thing is, Westchester is my alma mater. I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all. My point is there can be this game that different organizations play. And one of those games is, let's just show that there are more people of color at this institution, at this organization, at this corporation, whatever it is. But in reality, we really don't have a plan for those people. We don't really have a vision for the people that are diverse coming in. It's just more so to make us look better. The vision is to utilize this, to utilize diversity to make our company look more appealing to a wider range of people, right? If you see people that look like you who are working at Louis Vuitton and Gucci and all that kind of stuff, anything you can think, Coach, whatever. If you see people, models modeling their stuff, if you see people who are, getting those those deals, like those creative director deals, like a lot of these celebrities are starting to get them now. Musicians and artists and all that, they're getting these deals. I think like Pharrell, and then I think Cardi B has one with somebody. Nicki Minaj has one with somebody, like high end fashion. When you see those people and they look like you, you're more likely to spend money with them, right? And that's the game. It's attached to capital, and that's why we have to be careful. Like I said, with the inclusion piece, we have to have the inclusion. I think companies do well with diversity and not so well with equity, which I explained, gave an illustration about that. But with the inclusion part, we definitely got to do better, because inclusion is not just, hey, we'll let you come here and be here. Inclusion is, hey, we value the fact that your experience is different than our experience. We believe that will add to creating a better, more holistic, more inclusive environment if we allow you to be exactly who you are and bring who you are to the table completely. That is what inclusion is, and that's why it's so important, because we can do the whole, oh, you can come here and that's good and all that kind of stuff. We can do all that, and that's fine. But the problem is, and I want to talk about now that I said to you what they all mean. So diversity is just the difference, not just race, not just gender, but also sexual orientation, abilities. So people with disabilities, mentally or physically, ethnicity, religion, something as simple as allergies versus not. I guess that could fall under disabilities. Or political ideology, values, all those things have diversity within them. all those things have diversity within them, right? So when we look at DEI, right, and we see the conversation happening, a lot of people are against it. One of the things that kind of came before that was like affirmative action. So everybody has something against that. Oh, this is affirmative action, and affirmative action made it where everybody else didn't have access. You know, black people did. And in reality, when we look at civil rights, affirmative action, all that stuff actually benefited white women more. You can look that up. They've benefited more from all those things than any other diverse group. So when we get down to it, y'all are taking or looking to take away these things, but it's like cutting the nose off to spite the face, right? Because the people who benefited the most from it are white women. So when we look at that, we have to be careful, one, because you may be looking to harm your own people. And then two, is like, that's an issue because it was intended to help people who are in the margins, and women would be included in that. But for it to help white women, it's still helping the dominant culture more. Now, do they have issues in compared to white men? Yes. But then you even take it and compound it for women of color, right? Black women, Latino women, women that come from the Caribbean, different Caribbean islands, South America, that may not identify with those two, or maybe they do identify with both. But some of the arguments that people make against DEI is there's a perceived threat to, and I got these from Fast Company article by Amira. It is Amira Barger, right? And it's called 4 Common Arguments Against DEI and How to Dismantle Each One. That's the article. You can go check it out. But I want to kind of hit the points that she talked about, but put my own spin on it after I read it and not like read it verbatim. So the first point she says is that people have the common arguments is a perceived threat to meritocracy. Now, if you believe that this is really a meritocracy, again, go talk to the Jones family, go talk to the Rothschild, the DuPonts, the who else? Bush family, all those families that are just generationally wealthy. I named a few, but there's many more that I can rifle off. That are just wealthy beyond reason, right? Go talk to them and see if they really are operating under a meritocracy. Now, if you want to play the games of, hey, they did because at some point somebody in their family did what they need to do to make things better for their family going forward, okay, I guess. It's not. I guess they did earn the initial wealth off of a meritocracy, off of hard work. But even that could be in question because a lot of that had to do with, money being built off the back of slaves, sharecroppers, and all that kind of stuff. So either free labor or very, very cheap labor, where the people doing most of the work, most of the producing, were not given the credit, therefore not giving the profit. And so this idea that this is a meritocracy, when we all know it's not about how much you know, it's not how much you do, it's about who you know and what position they're in for you. And so if the people who get to be at the top are always white folk, then who's going to continue to be at the top? Who's going to continue to be able to hand down inheritance in such a large way on a large scale? It's going to be white people, especially in America. But when you look at the people who are, have historically, and I say like black folk, like redlining hurt us tremendously because owning a home, right, under the GI Bill changes the game for a large swath of the black community as far as what the net worth is and what the average, they say with the red line, what happened was it kept black folk from being able to purchase homes, which then turned it into, we're going to rent. Or if we do get to purchase homes, what happens is the interest rate is trash. The community we live in is valued low because we live in it, right? We move in, oh man, there goes the neighborhood. This is stuff people said. I lived in an area, right? I grew up in an area where as soon as Black, African, Latinos started moving in, you started seeing for sale signs. You started seeing for rent signs because then, they had the means to be able to say, well, I don't want to live here with them, but I'll rent out the property, right? So you start seeing that, and we call that white flight, right? And I know people are going to hear this. They don't want to hear that, but that's the reality because what changed? What changed? Most of the people I grew up with went to private school, so they didn't really have to worry about the public school and what state it was in. So what were you leaving for? The house was affordable. A lot of people I know and heard of, when they got rid of their homes to go buy a home in what they would consider a better area, right? They had to give up having like a shore home and stuff like that because the house that they were moving to, the taxes were higher. It was bigger. So it was overall more expensive, but then again, the taxes. So they had to get rid of their shore home. So that's how bad they wanted to move away from the area that a lot of them grew up in. They wanted to move away so bad that they were willing to give up their shore home to buy a bigger home somewhere elsewhere, get rid of that home or rent it out. And so that's a whole nother conversation about renter stuff and how people who are landlords who don't live in the area that they own property in and that they rent out. It troubles me because they don't care about how the area is more than it is or more than it has to do with the marketability of the property they're trying to rent or flip in whatever case it may be. And so the dangerous part about having that is just you have a situation where like you have a board or a council who's not in the best interest of the people who actually live in the community. The renters really don't have a lot of say because they don't own. And then those who do own and live here, we got to deal with a lot of nonsense because the people who rent don't really have any vested interest outside of the money they make here, who are landlords, I should say. But so the idea that we're in a meritocracy is not true. Everything is about affinity. There's a lot of nepotism, and there's a lot of favoritism, right? And when we do it, Black folk, it's a problem. But it's been going on, right? I'm gonna use LeBron as an example. I love the moment him and his son checked in together, and I love the fact that the Lakers and JJ Redick, I should say, I'm sure he has something to do with it, decided to do that immediately. Let's not drag this out. No, he's not going to be an important part of this team right now. At least we don't think him to be that. He's young. He's 19, I think going on 20. He needs to develop. There's a lot of stuff he needs to add. He needs to get the timing down. There's a lot. Like most rookies, except for like the lottery picks. Outside of the lottery picks, I would say outside of the first rounders, most of them have to adjust to the game. Bronny's no different. He was 155. Again, I said it on another episode. If you didn't hear it that time, this time listen to me. Go back and look at the picks that were at 155. And you tell me, out of the last 30 years, how many of those picks actually did damage in the league? That's all I'll say there. But there's nepotism like that, and I agree with it. And it's deeper than just, I agree with it because it's Black nepotism, right? It's not that. It's like, no, this is how the system works. If you go to these companies that are family, founded and owned and all that, like the board is the family, you better believe it that if their kid goes to school for business and all that kind of stuff, or is being trained up by whoever is in control at that time, you better believe he gonna get a high position in that company. You better believe it. It's because it's staying in the family, period. So why can't LeBron use his influence to get his kid in the league? Actually, we should be looking at all the other legends weird for not making that happen. Because guess what? Guess where the best of the best everything is? Training, facilities. It's in the NBA. I'm not even going to let that linger. It's in the NBA. So why wouldn't you get your kid there and then say, hey, you got to sink or swim though. I'm not going to pull weight or rank to try to get you in a rotation. I don't think Bron is doing that. Bron understands Bronny has to develop. He has to become a bona fide pro. I got you here. And that's what it should be. I always say this. Your ceiling or your parents' ceiling should be your floor. That's my motto. I don't want my daughter and my son to struggle with the same things me and their mom struggle with. I don't want that. And you shouldn't either. And that's how I look at what Brian did. Brian's like, I got you here. This right here, my ceiling is super high. So don't even look at my ceiling because my ceiling is not your ceiling. But at the same time, this was my floor. Just getting here was my floor. We knew he was going to the league in high school, right? They talking about like he was a junior. He could have been playing in the NBA. He was ready, right? A lot of people have that sentiment. But what I want to say is and please, parents, I get it. Everybody wants to buck against the gentle parenting. Y'all are mistaking gentle parenting for passive parenting, first of all. Gentle parenting is just minding the way you interact with your child. You can discipline without being harsh. I struggle with it. You get frustrated. You feel like you're repeating yourself. That's what you're doing, especially for toddlers. You're repeating yourself. And you know, many of you watching this, your children are smart. And that's the tougher part is to remember, while they are smart, they are still very early in their development. So they're going to, one, forget. They're going to test the waters. Even if they know something ain't right, they're going to try it anyway because that's just where they are in development. It's actually a good sign that they're curious in that way. And you got to repeat yourself and you got to say it again. And you got to discipline again. You got to sit them down again. But thinking that because a parent says, I'm really not doing corporal punishment, I'm really looking to engage my child in conversation and help them to understand things are wrong. I don't care how frustrated I get. I don't care how long I need to be patient. But I believe that is a better way of training up a child than just to resort to. It's easy. First of all, I'm big. Their mother is, to them, bigger. If we were to walk around like y'all want every parent to be walking around thinking that that's going to create the best children, we could have them in line. But guess what? They're going to fear us. And that's the last thing I want. I don't want my child to fear me because that's when secrets start getting kept. Because they'll be afraid of how I'll respond as opposed to saying I messed up or something happened to me and I know I can go to my parents. But I deviated. The whole idea of meritocracy is not real. Take that out of your mind. Look at all your situations when it comes to work. Look at the times you were passed up. Look at the times that people have gotten into roles and you knew that they were not equipped. Look at the time, like there's so many examples of that to just know that this is not a meritocracy. A meritocracy would be that you only get what you worked and built and that's it. That's what a meritocracy would be. That's it. That's all it would be. It would be you did it, you get it. You build it, you get to reap the benefits of building it. That's what it would be. If this is a meritocracy, descendants of slaves would have been got their reparations. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. The fears of reverse discrimination. That's a good one. That's a good one because y'all don't want, and this is to white folk, y'all don't want what happened to others, whether it be black or brown or Asian, to happen to y'all. And if we really look at the chaotic history of white folk, when Italians came, they weren't white originally. As far as the construct of race here. When Irish came, same thing. They were living in the same communities that black people were living in, that Jewish people were living in. And they were looked at the same. Somewhere along the lines, those who were considered white or considered to be the top tier class of this nation said, hey, them numbers over there, the marginalized numbers is building. If we don't claim, and I'm going to just say Irish and Italian, then they're going to all see each other as the same. There's going to be a little bickering and stuff, but it'll be us and it'll be them because they'll have similar experiences living in the same ghettos and slums. That's when y'all got control of things like the union and policing and firing and all that kind of stuff. Do your knowledge. What they say, do your knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Do your knowledge on that. But y'all don't want what happened to others to happen to y'all. right? And y'all fear that, but that's not what DEI is all about. DEI is creating a space to welcome, at its core, people in, and to acknowledge that they come from an experience that put them way, way back and gave others a head start. And on top of being put way, way back, obstacles were placed in front of them. Obstacle after obstacle that they've had to face that our white counterparts did not have to face. That's just the reality. It's not reverse discrimination. And no, there isn't this like large swaths of like black students being accepted to universities while white students don't. That's just not happening. One, there's not enough black people in the population for that to even be happening. We don't make up enough of the pie. So there's that. There's the logistics of it. But it's just not happening that way. And on top of that, the real issue is this: the assumption that black people, and I'm just going to stick to the black people from here on out because that's my people, that black people are being put into positions that they're not qualified for is grossly overstated, I should say. Grossly overstated, because that's not what's happening. The students who are being accepted at, let's say, an Ivy League school that are black, that are getting accepted, getting a lot of scholarships and things like that, they are highly qualified to be there. It's not because, we just want to bring a black person here, so we just went and got any old black person that may not be prepared to be here. No, they went and got the best of the best. So you're not looking at nobody who's just like, this person who will have good grades or bad SAT scores and ACT scores, whatever it is, a bad placement, whatever. This person got accepted over this other person who's highly qualified. So y'all, in y'all minds, it's like, there's this person that has amazing high school grades and is involved in everything. And then there's this person who's like, and this is how y'all view black folk, I'll be real, as lazy, shiftless, and we ain't really bout nothing. So you're imagining, here's this fine, distinguished white person, white guy, white woman who's done a lot of things, got great grades and all that kind of stuff, and then they just give acceptance to this black person who got bad grades in high school and they get a good SAT score, and then they didn't have any of the experiences and the internships that this student had. They weren't ready for that. That's not what's happening. You're talking about a situation when you look at it as like both people are highly qualified. But if we got 5 people in leadership here at this corporation and 4 of the 5 people are white identifying, so white male or female, and we have the ability to hire, and we have 2 top candidates that are both equally qualified, but one is black. We want to shake up this board a little bit. We want to shake up this leadership team a little bit and bring a different perspective in, because when you bring different perspectives, you can look this stuff up too, it does better for the corporation. I think Mark Cuban was talking about it. He said diversity, basically is something that is beneficial to an organization or a corporation or a business, right? You want to have diversity on your leadership. You want to have diversity on your employee list. You want to have diversity there because you want to be able to solve for many different issues that could come down the pike, and that takes diversity. And so I say that to say the people are qualified. It's just a matter of saying they're both equally qualified. They both can do this job well, but only one of them gives us a chance at diversifying this leadership team. So we're going to go with that person. That's how I see it, right? That's what I see it as, and that's what it is. They're not hiring duds. So get that out of your mind. If the position expects to have, an MBA, they're not hiring somebody that just has a business, a 4-year degree in business, right? That's not what's happening. I think a lot of y'all think that's happening, and it's not. Get that out of your mind, right? That's not what's happening. Nobody's taking a job from somebody else. It's just the idea that we can bring diversity into this situation. So why not do it with this person who's highly qualified for the position, who we are considering heavily anyway? We got to choose one. So when you speak out against that, all I hear is that you're more okay. You think it's a greater society when white people are getting the opportunities at a higher clip than everybody else. And whenever someone tries to solve for that, there's a problem. There might be reverse discrimination. They're keeping me because I'm white. You know, I saw somebody comment the other day. They said, white people don't have it easy. We don't have no privilege. People hate us and all this other stuff now. We can't even really just be white and be okay. Stop it. Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. Stop it. And for those who do hate white people, you got to just deal with that. I'm not one of them people. I don't hate white people. When I talk about white people and when I talk about white supremacy and all that kind of stuff, I'm talking about the system. I'm talking about the system that benefits y'all. I'm talking about the system that was at the expense of us. And it was built on our backs. And it was built with these kind of like pre-existing or these kind of these ideas that didn't include us. And so we need DEI because we need to be able to be in better spaces. Because guess what? This country and the leaders of it throughout history have done their darndest to keep us down. So how about we start to do the inverse? How about we have reverse discrimination in that way? How about we reverse discrimination and not worry about reverse discrimination, right? We want to get to a place where black folk can actually be in a space where people actually consider us and care about us, are empathetic, compassionate, not pity. I don't want no pity. We don't need no pity because guess what? We did the darn thing. Because look, when we look at all the stuff we built, including this nation, without us, this nation is not possible. That's first and foremost. Get that in your spirit. Without black folk, this nation ain't possible. 2, we just make everything better. We got the culture. We created a lot out of nothing, right? We created a lot out of a distant, history that we have, but from what we had here, which is not really a lot. So when we look at that, we need to reverse the discrimination and make these things work in our favor as opposed to our detriment. That's the key. That's the key for all of that. The next thing is with the political ideology. I kind of mentioned that a little bit. Conservative white evangelicals tends to be one of the topics that they kind of harp on, and they get all fired up about. They say it's not right. It's not good. And so what happens is you got this whole, and this is pervasive because what happens is you got the swath of black conservatives who are so gung-ho about this, not realizing those people don't care nothing about you. They care about their people, right? That's just the key. And so what happens is we have been so easily divided. We have been so off code. Let's shout to Deontay Kyle with the Grits and Egg podcast that I mentioned earlier. We've been so off code that we need to get on code. Everybody got different experiences in the blood. We're not a monolith, but they can paint us as a monolith, right? When you got people like Candace Owens, Tim Scott, you know what I mean? People like that who will basically reinforce what they're saying and say, yeah, black people are just a degenerate group and they need to take accountability and get better. And it's like, but you guys don't acknowledge any of the negative things that were done to us at our expense that are in policy still today, right? Like how slavery didn't really end. It just transformed. And y'all got such an issue against that community, but y'all transitioned slavery into mass incarceration. So it's like, yeah, we can't just, and Deontay Kyle said this too. This made it come to my mind. I listened to his pod. And he said like, yeah, we can't enslave like regular people, right? We'll take that out. Like, yeah, we can't just take like a regular person, a regular free person to say like you're a slave, or just a person to say you're a slave. But you get incarcerated. Now we got you. Because all them privatized prisons making all that money from corporations, some of the favorite ones you shop with. And these people doing the work, pennies on the dollar. Oh, they're getting paid pennies on the dollar for work that if this was in a factory, they would have to get way more than that. Come on. Oh, well, they did the crime. Not all of them. And then guess what? It's supposed to be rehabilitative, right? It's supposed to be that, but it's not. Because you send these people, even people that get out, they ain't even prepared to be in society. But that's neither here or there. So we got that, the political unrest about it, and conservatives have this value of hard work and earning your way and all that kind of stuff. When, when we look at the numbers, there's no way for welfare to be more inhabited or used by anybody but white folk, because white folk make up almost 60% of the nation, right? So with that being said, all those ideas that, black folk just rely on welfare, and that's been the detriment. What about redlining? What about Jim Crow? What about mass incarceration? What about the war on drugs? And I love what Deontay Kyle said about that. He said it seemed like it was just more of a war on black people, because that's what it was. Let's keep it 100%. That's what it was. So you say all that, and you say all this good stuff and these good American qualities, and you vote for a guy who's a convicted essayer, has several cases and several accounts of people saying that he essayed them and all that kind of stuff. And yet you do all this in the name of Christ. And this is why so many people are confused. That's a whole nother topic. Deontay was talking about that too. But so many people are confused. So many people say they don't believe, because there are so many evangelicals that are doing wicked, wicked things, and that are wicked, wicked people in the name of Jesus. That's crazy to me. Stop calling on the name of Jesus. That's my Lord and Savior. God is my Father. The Holy Spirit is my intercessor and goes in between and covers me. Don't use the faith to justify your wickedness. It's wickedness. I don't see the fruits of the Spirit anywhere. You're just a conservative nationalist. That's what you are, a conservative nationalist. I don't see you as a brother or a sister in Christ if you all tied up into that. You're a conservative nationalist who likes to use, you ain't no different than the slave masters that took that Bible and picked it apart and put it back together so that they can make sure the slaves stayed in line, because they were reading a manufactured Bible that made them believe that what was happening was A-okay and that they shouldn't think any other way about it. But neither here nor there, because that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, you a Christian. You're a conservative nationalist. You ain't no Christian. You ain't no follower of Christ, because you don't even got the fruit of the Spirit. We'll know them by their fruits. You don't even got the fruit of the Spirit. Is everybody is voting for Trump, and y'all think it's because he stands by the values of the faith Christianity? I don't know where you see that at. We could just look at the fruits of the spirits, and he literally does not. He doesn't have any of those. He doesn't exhibit even one of the fruits of the spirits. And they say in the word, it says in the word, we will know them by their fruit. And it's talking about the fruits of the Spirit. So, like I said, I'm going to move on from that, but get your mind right. Next thing is misinformation and misunderstandings. That sums up a lot of like the rhetoric around DEI. Like I said, I talked about it before, the idea that people of lesser ability and capabilities and people who are not prepared, people who don't have the education and the experience, are getting jobs over people who are highly qualified. Right? That's one false narrative that I'll pull out and say and repeat like I did before. That's not happening. The people who are black, and if you want to say of color, who are getting these positions over white people, are qualified for the position just like the white person is. They're just going with the diversity because they want to create a diverse environment to be able to address more issues. And some of them, it's not that pure either. So I don't even want to say that. What I will say is some people are doing that because they do believe in diversity. Like Mark Cuban said, like, I believe in a diverse group of people working together, being a better way of doing things, opposed to it being a monolith of people, like everybody be white and then everybody in leadership is white, and maybe some diversity amongst the employees and staff. I believe he believes. But there are some people who's just doing it because it looks good, and they just want to look good for, more consumers to engage their product. They want to look good so that they can get these achievements. People get awards and achievements for diversity and stuff like that. So, with that, you just have to be careful. But, all it is, again, you go back to my example in the beginning, the equality part of it is addressing everybody the same, right? You just say, oh, it's got to be the same. Everybody gets the same no matter what. If you fall and scrape your leg and I could put a bandage on it, cool. If you fall and hit your head, I could put a bandage on it, cool. If you fall and twist the ankle or break a leg, I'll put a bandage on it, cool. That's equality. Equity is, all right, you fell and scraped your leg, bandage. You fell and hit your head, we're going to check to make sure you don't have a concussion, and we'll give you an ice pack just in case, and we'll keep monitoring you as we go forward. You fall and we feel like you might have broke a leg, all right, we got to get you to the hospital. We got to, and then even with the head injury, we might have to take you to the hospital. But for the broken leg where it's like, oh, you're in excruciating pain, you're screaming, yeah, we got to get you to the hospital. So all it is that, and then the systemic change is like, how did you fall and break your leg? So how did each of those people harm themselves? Again, this is coming from a paraphrase from this article that I'm talking about. But how did each of those people harm themselves, right? And this is how you make a systemic change. You say, oh, they came out, they thought that they were going to use the railing to go down the steps. They didn't know the railing was messed up, and they fell. So one fell and scraped their leg. The other fell, and they hit their head because they fell really bad. And the third person fell, and they broke their leg because it was a freak accident. They, no different than like when Paul George did that himself. Like, it was a freak accident. They ended up breaking their leg. Okay, so now all those people are being tended to in the way that they need to be tended to. All right. But that issue is still there. So the next person that goes to use that railing is going to harm themselves again. Hey, this thing is not working. It's not doing what it was intended to do, which is to help people get down the steps. We need to do something. Oh, replace the railing and secure it and make sure that it is not wobbly, make sure that it is sound, and that it is in place for people to use. There we go. And that's what systemic change is. So get it out of your mind that DEI is this like mindset of we're going to replace. It's like what I talked about CRT. CRT is just a lens of seeing things. DEI is just an intention. We want to be diverse. We want to be equitable, acknowledging where people came from and the things that they had to come through that were different than other people, and to their detriment. And then inclusion, which I think a lot of people fail at, is the idea that we value all of the experiences, all of the cultural capital that you bring to the table. We value it in such a way that we would love to have you share that with us, because we believe our company, our organization, we believe that our school will be better because you are in a position to share your thoughts and opinions, to share strategy coming from the places that you come from, that we have never been to, that we have never experienced. And we believe that that is very, very valuable. And so when we look at DEI, we have to make sure that people understand, right, that DEI is only going to help me. It's only going to help you. You want to have different people around you. If you're Italian and you only hang around Italians, you are missing out on the world. But if you're Irish and you only hang out with Irish, same thing. If you're white and you only hang out with white people, same difference. I ran into so many people that didn't have much of any black people around them until they got to college. And all of their notions, all of the things they were told about black people were dispelled within the first semester for the most part. Now, some people come to college and they stick to it and they stay right with the people who they're comfortable with. Some people come to college and they're open to meeting different types of people from different walks of life. Wealth is also a place where diversity is, right? So you have these places where you have people who come from low socioeconomic status, and then you got people that come from the upper class. It's important that we all come together because there's a whole world and there's a whole lot happening that is far greater than just the little pond that you come from, whether it's the wealthy pond, the poor pond, or the working class or the middle class pond. We need to all engage with each other because we're only getting part of the story. We're only getting part of what life is all about if we're only staying secluded to the people who we know and who we relate with. This episode has been really good for me. It's a topic that I think I'll continue to talk about in different ways and have on with guests. And I want to make sure that, you all know that going forward, I'm going to have the People's Chant, and that's a link on my Beacons links. And the True Vision is the podcast IG. And even on, I think I even have that on TikTok as True Vision as well. You can follow me there. We'll be clipped out on there. We're on YouTube as well. Please subscribe. If I can get all of you all to subscribe, that would be wonderful. It will push me to the next stage. I'm speaking into existence now. I believe we'll be at least 500 by the end of the year. And that's the hope that all you all will subscribe and that the things that I'm saying are interesting to you as they are to me. I look forward to interacting with you all in the comments. Some of you all, I will be putting up a guest form for you all, and you can fill it out if you feel like you want to come on, you got something going on, something you want to share. I won't choose everybody, but I will look to choose a lot of people because I do like to talk to a lot of different types of people. So it just depends on what you're looking to bring. And if you just want to advertise, just let me know. I only advertise things that I use and will buy personally myself. So I'm not just going to advertise something just because it's always going to be something that, I've actually used or that I intend on using. So that being said, reach out to me, the People's Chant. What that is it's about you nominating somebody who you admire and respect. And what you'll do is you'll fill out all the information. You'll see it on the form. And then at the end, you have an opportunity to kind of give a little bit of a blurb. I'll put it up on the screen. I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'm going to read it to come up with a paraphrase to talk about the person a bit. You'll give their name, nickname, whatever. Maybe IG handle if y'all want to be tagged. And we'll go from there. And we could, and so it can be a surprise to the person whenever I drop it. So that'll also be a thing where you just got to be patient, right? So you might put it in, let's say after this episode, you put it in, right? You put the forum in and you somebody, it might not be on the next episode. Somebody else might be on the next episode, but it could be on the next episode. It just depends on how many people fill it out, how many people I have to look through and all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and end that episode right now. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Be in tune. Stay on the lookout. Look at some of my old clips and videos. Also the old videos. Comment. YouTube. Rate me on Apple Pod. Spotify. Comment. All that good stuff is good for me. I'm just starting out. And again, I want to shout out the guys like Deontay Kyle because they get it from the muscle. I want to shout out the guys like LaRussell, getting it from the muscle. All that kind of stuff. But the key thing is, I saw a bit of the interview he did with another platform, and I remember he was talking about the YNs, right? And one of his episodes, right? There's something like, I remember you was feeling this. But no, I remember he was talking about one of the YNs, right? And he was going on, he was saying, like, the problem is, like, a lot of these people out here, they scared of them, right? And so because you're afraid of them, you're not looking to help guide them. He was like, the YNs is warriors, yo. They the ones, they just misguided. We need to stop being afraid of them and interact with them. So in the middle of this interview on a different platform that he was on, literally he was like, they're going to YNs right there. He invited them to the joint and told them to sit down. And so he not just talking, right? And that's the thing, like, who you remind me of? Like, he not just talking. He like my bro Tyre too. Like Tyre really be outside. Like he did a video. He was talking about, you know, the young bulls and they was acting crazy. Like he said, they was doing some crazy stuff. But he also didn't appreciate how the officers was moving either. So he was challenging that while he was looking to challenge the young bulls. The thing is, he's in the street, and the problem is this. And even myself, like I'm trying to find more of the time. Like he got a kid, I got a kid. I'm trying to find more of the time from being at work and the family and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I want to get more involved in that because I think they do need to see. I know when we was growing up, we had a few, and my dad being one, men who engaged us, whether it be through sports or otherwise, right? We had that, but I feel like this generation don't have it because everybody just either ain't got time, or if they do have time, they just like, I ain't trying to do that because like Deontay said, like somebody said, you going to mess with them young, and guess what? You want to get yourself killed or something. You're like, see, when you think like that, you ain't gonna ever want to help them. And when you think like that, they gonna always know, like, yo, you afraid of me. You don't trust me. You don't really want to do this. You just doing it because you feel like it's necessary, but you always kind of like, I don't really so if you can't get to a space of like where we can trust and build a relationship, you'll never get to a space where you won't be afraid of YNs, right? So I love that moment because he had them come up and they started talking, right? He didn't edit them. He didn't say like, yo, don't talk like that. Don't say that. You mean like, don't do it. He didn't do none of that. He let them get their stuff off. And I'm sure they was appreciative of it. Like, oh, snap. Like, these boys, they older. They let us come get on the joint and talk our stuff. Like, yeah, just let them do their thing. We get too focused on, I think in the black community, we do it a lot because we really police ourselves so much. We get so focused on wanting to make them young boys change instead of just letting them do their thing and mature. And as they're maturing, you giving them guidance. And they listening because you around. They don't want to hear you just yelling at them from the porch. They don't want to hear you just, you know, talking crazy on the internet, talking bad about them and all that, and saying how this generation is lost and they ain't going nowhere. They don't want to hear none of that. They're like, well, if I'm lost, then show me how to get where I'm supposed to go, or show me how to figure out where I'm supposed to go, then get there. Right? We want to give all these, you know, ideas about YNs and how Gen Z and all that is living their life, but nobody wants to really get down and do the work. And so, shout out to Deontay for doing that. Shout out to Tyre for being a stand-up dude and being out in the streets and really caring about these young boys. Right? I mean, that's just one instance I was talking about with Tyre. Like Tyre does so much with young people that, and even young people that's trying to figure out a way when they get, you know, when they're out of the age of being a kid and they start needing jobs and stuff, he's hired people that people wouldn't hire, right? This is a top class, top tier dude, right? Can't say nothing else, you know, about it, but he's just a top tier dude. Tyre, appreciate you. Keep doing your thing. If you don't think anybody else, you know, admires or appreciates you or sees what you doing, is me, your brother. And for the rest of y'all, please, please, please stay true to who you are. Accept who you are. Embrace yourself as much as you seek to embrace others. And I'll see you next time.
Okay, big shot. Swimming through the riptides from the cliff, but I got love on the twip side. Moves of the day, no rules, just play. Go against me and you'll be losing the day. Moves on the bean, all I do is fillet. Beast need a feast, about to go and got a steak. Lyrics on Jaime might go and cop a case.